Good evening, everyone, and welcome to ABN News Headlines. Tonight, we will highlight several stories from around the world. Like the video, leave your comments, and do not forget to share. I am Jane Mwena for Advent Broadcast Network. An Indonesian Navy ship tows boat with Rohingya refugees to port. An Indonesian Navy ship on Thursday was towing a boat carrying 120 Rohingya Muslims into port after it had drifted for days off the country's northernmost province of Aceh. The refugees' wooden boat was reportedly leaking and had a damaged engine. Efforts to rescue its passengers, who are overwhelmingly women and children, began after Indonesia's government on Wednesday said it would allow them to dock because conditions on the boat were so severe. The broken-down boat was towed by a Navy ship early on Thursday from its location about 85 kilometers off the coast. High waves and bad weather hampered the rescue operation, and the Navy ship was moving 5 knots per hour but was expected to dock later on Thursday. The boat was first sighted by local fishermen on Sunday about 96 kilometers off the coast, and the fishermen provided food, water, and clothes for the passengers, including 60 women, 51 children, and 9 men, who said they wanted to go to Malaysia and had been at sea for 28 days before the boat's engine broke down. The United Nations Refugee Agency said it was ready to assist Indonesia's government and local community in preparing the Rohingya, including establishing a quarantine process in line with international public health protocol amid the pandemic. More than 700,000 Rohingya Muslims have fled from Buddhist-majority Myanmar to refugee camps in Bangladesh since 2017, when the Myanmar military launched a clearance operation in response to attacks by a rebel group. Myanmar security forces have been accused of mass rapes, killings, and burning of thousands of homes. Groups in Rohingya have attempted to leave the crowded camps in Bangladesh and traveled by sea in hazardous voyages to other Muslim-majority countries in the region. A UPS driver was kidnapped and packages stolen in brazen Atlanta heist. Hijackers seized a UPS big rig, kidnapping its driver and stealing an untold number of packages during a brazen heist on Tuesday in Atlanta. The attack unfolded at about 3:30 a.m. when the UPS truck was stopped at a traffic light at Fulton Industrial Boulevard Northwest and Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway Northwest, and a gunman got into the vehicle. The assailant then forced the UPS employee to drive to a secluded area near Hollowell and Bankhead Court Northwest, where the suspect, along with others, tied the victim up and stole cargo from the tractor trailer, according to the Atlanta police statement. It wasn't until the 18-wheeler was reported overdue that the company used GPS to track down the driver and found the driver uninjured inside the trailer and called law enforcement at about 9:15 a.m. A representative of Atlanta-based UPS declined to say how much was stolen, but investigators WXI-TV that less than a quarter of the load was taken. Atlanta Police Sergeant Jarius Daughtry said the driver wisely complied with the suspect's demands. In the Kenyan parliament, a brawl erupts over political party bill. A brawl erupted in Kenya's parliament Wednesday as lawmakers were debating a controversial bill governing political parties ahead of next year's election. The speaker suspended the session briefly after the chaotic scenes, which saw at least 2 rival MPs exchange blows, according to the images broadcast on local media. One lawmaker, Bernard Koros, was injured during the fracas and was seen with blood dripping down his face, while another was expelled from the parliament by the speaker. The fighting broke out after hours of heated debate over the bill, which contains amendments to laws governing political parties and the registration of coalition groupings for elections. The legislation would allow a coalition of parties to field a candidate, a departure from the current law that requires a candidate to belong to a party or an independent to be independent to vie for the seat. Kenya's top court ruled against those amendments earlier in August. Suspect in Japan mental health clinic fire that killed 25 dies in hospital. A 61-year-old man suspected of starting a fire at a Japanese mental health clinic that claimed 25 lives died in hospital on Thursday. Morio Tanimoto had been in critical condition due to burns and carbon monoxide poisoning following the deadly attack in Osaka on December 17th. Tanimoto, a former patient of the clinic, died without being interrogated by the police. An Osaka police spokesman declined to comment when contacted. The fire raged for half an hour, gutting the fourth floor of the narrow commercial building where the clinic, which also provided general medical care, was located. Japanese media said most of the victims were believed to have suffered from carbon monoxide poisoning and may have been trapped inside the unit with the exit blocked. Some patients saw a man placing a paper bag containing a flammable liquid next to the heater, which he then kicked over to ignite. Osaka in western Japan is a major economic hub and the country's second biggest metropolis after the Greater Tokyo region. 1 year ago, a man was charged with the murder over a 2019 arson attack in a Kyoto animation studio that killed 36 people, the country's deadliest violent crime in decades. The attack sent shockwaves through the anime industry and its fans in Japan and around the world. The rebels in Myanmar bury more than 30 people killed in barbaric attack. A Myanmar insurgent group said it has buried the remains of more than 30 people who were killed and had their bodies set ablaze as the UN Security Council called for accountability and an immediate end to violence in the country. Opposition activists have blamed Myanmar's army for the December 24th attack near Moso village in Kaya state in which the Save the Children aid group said 2 of its staff were killed. A spokesman for the junta has not commented on the attack, but state media in military-run Myanmar has previously reported that soldiers had fired on and killed an unspecified number of terrorists with weapons in the village. Photographs that media posted online showed KNDF members burying the remains in graves lined with concrete blocks. Flowers were scattered over the bodies and candles lit beside the graves. The commander, who declined to be identified for security reasons, said while it was difficult to identify any of the bodies buried on Wednesday, he believed they included the Save the Children staff. A spokesman for Save the Children declined to comment, but the group has previously confirmed that 2 of its workers, both young fathers, were killed in the attack. The international community has expressed shock over the attack, with the U.S. Embassy in Myanmar describing this as barbaric. In a press statement published on Wednesday, the UN Secretary Council said its members condemned the reported killing of at least 35 people, including 4 children and 2 staff of Save the Children. Since the coup, more than 1,300 people have been killed by security forces and more than 11,000 have been jailed, according to a tally by the Association for Assistance of Political Prisoners Rights Group. The military disputes the group's death toll. A 3-year-old North Carolinian girl died after accidentally shooting herself on Christmas. A 3-year-old North Carolina girl has been hospitalized after she accidentally shot herself on Christmas Day and has died on Wednesday. The girl, Ailey Gordon, was pronounced dead Tuesday night at Mission Hospital in Asheville, the Henderson County Sheriff's Office said in a written statement. Ailey was the daughter of retired Henderson County Sheriff's Captain Tim Gordon. Sheriff spokesman John Duncan said in an email. The shooting in the rural community of Edneyville was reported Saturday afternoon around 2:30 p.m., the sheriff's office said. According to a 911 audio obtained by WYFF of Greenville, South Carolina, Gordon dialed emergency responders and said his family had a visitor for the holiday who accidentally left a gun in his car. She picked it up and it went off. Gordon, who retired from the sheriff's office in 2016, drove Ailey to a fire station because he was having trouble getting cell phone reception. She was then taken to Mission Hospital about 20 miles north. Possible criminal charges will be decided by the local district attorney's office or the North Carolina Bureau of Investigation. This year, 1,046 children under the age 11 were killed or injured by gunfire, and up from 999 last year and 600 to 700 each of the 6 previous years, according to the Gun Violence Archive. A report released this year by the Children's Defense Fund, a non-profit research and advocacy group, found that gun violence was the leading cause of death for all children and teens under 19 in 2019. In Cameroon, 47 opposition supporters are sentenced to prison. Cameroon, 47 opposition activists of Maurice Kamto's party MRC have been sentenced to prison. The activists will serve between 1 and 7 years for rebellion. The opposition supporters were arrested in September 2020 for planning what they described as peaceful marches against President Paul Biya, who has been in power for almost 4 decades. In the economic capital, Douala, more than 500 demonstrators were arrested by the police during the protests in 2020. According to the opposition party, 124 are still detained. The spokesman and treasurer of the party received the longest sentences for rebellion and attempted insurrection. The opposition leader, Maurice Kamto, was imprisoned for 9 months in 2019 after running against Paul Biya in 2018. Strangers stand in the street to help a taxi driver after his car burned to ashes. A group of Good Samaritans in Mosul helped raise money for a taxi driver after his vehicle caught fire. The taxi driver was taking a patient home from the hospital when the car caught fire. The doors were locked in the back, so the driver broke the window and pulled the passenger out to save him after he had him making noise. The fire trucks came and put the flames out, but it was too late for the car. It was burnt to ashes. Motorists also pulled over to help. Once they learned it was a taxi that had burnt, some decided to donate money. Others stood on the street to collect donations for the taxi driver. This goes on to show that there is still hope in humanity, even in these very challenging times. By the end of the day, these volunteers raised more than the car's worth before the fire. And that marks the end of our headlines tonight. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the end, liking the video and sharing it. I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow as we have another of these segments. I have been your host for tonight, Jane.